Halloween, folks! This is about as creative as I'm getting this year. Hopefully your characters have a bit more style than I do when it comes to fashion, but if not, watch this video to find out my 5 steps on how, why, and when to describe your character's clothing. By the way, next week is November 1st, 2018, and I just want to wish everyone the best of luck when it comes to their NaNoWriMo projects. I hope you all reach your 50,000 word goal, and I will keep you posted in future videos on how my November NaNoWriMo month goes. Okay, let's talk fashion. Side note, if you hear any construction work going on this video, please ignore it if possible. Tip number 1, use clothing to show off personality. It's no secret that in real life, people use fashion to show off their personalities, and your characters can do the same thing. Just by looking at someone's clothes, you might know what music they're into, maybe if they're quirky, or if they're more timid, if they mean business, if they're uptight, or if they're relaxed. If your character wants to look professional for a job interview, instead of telling us that she dressed professionally, show us what they're wearing. For example, and I just made this up, she wore a gray pencil stick skirt with a white blouse. She added earrings to make her eyes sparkle, and she chose heels that were tall, but not too tall, to suggest something sexual. Rather, they were just the right height to say, I'm here to do business. One of my favorite characters, Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter, is described as such. The girl gave off an aura of distinct dottiness. Perhaps it was the fact that she had stuck her wand behind her left ear for safekeeping, or that she had chosen to wear a necklace of butterbeer caps. Or that she was reading a magazine upside down. Don't be afraid to put jewelry, glasses, and other props like magazines into your character's life to help describe their personality a bit. Maybe you want your character to look sexy for a first date. Describe how much skin she is revealing, if she's wearing perfume, or how she's done her hair. If your character is a scientist, instead of telling me that they're wearing a lab coat, show me that they're wearing a long white coat to protect from spills. Tip number 2, make the clothing make sense to the era. Keep in mind what century you're writing in, even if you've created a whole new world. For example, if you're writing a Victorian piece or you've created a new medieval world, these people probably aren't going to be wearing zippers on their clothing. Do your research, because in the real world, things like zippers weren't even used until the early 1900s in clothing. Your Victorian style dress will likely be laced up. Same thing goes with buttons and Velcro. Find out when those were invented. Do they fit into your story or do they not? If they don't, figure out what works. Don't forget that styles change from decade to decade. Do you want your characters to think Victorian England, or do you want them to think tie-dye and bell-bottoms in the 1960s? The clothing really can tell it all. And if you've created a whole new world, say for your fantasy story, make sure it all makes sense and goes along with the technology that's available, the fabric that's available, the paint dyes, all of that. Make sure it all connects and makes sense with your story. Tip number 3, describe the style, color, and fabric. You just introduced a new character and you tell me that he is wearing a shirt. Awesome. Sorry folks, but that just won't cut it here. But I'll tell you what will. First, identify the material. Denim, tweed, corduroy, leather, etc. Identify the style. Blouse, button-down shirt, cardigan, etc. Color. Simple. Tell me what color the shirt is. Or maybe it has multiple colors, or it's very colorful, or it has patterns. I don't know, you tell me. Now, in one way, you could tell me that he's wearing a striped black and white button-down shirt and move on with your day. But you could also say it like, he looked like a zebra who had escaped from the zoo in his black and white button-down shirt covered in wrinkles, for an example. Tip number 4, use clothing to describe social status. This tip is pretty simple, but it's important. Put your characters in rags and ripped clothing, and we will know pretty much right away that your character isn't rich, and they probably don't hang around certain social circles. Put your character in exquisite clothing that is well taken care of, wrinkle-free, expensive, and we'll know where that character stands in that part of the world as well. You don't need to tell me how much money your character has. You can simply describe it based on their lifestyle, based on the clothes they wear, based on who they hang out with. Tip number 5, describe clothing when it's relevant. Try not to overload our imaginations when it comes to describing clothing. It's not necessary to tell me that the coat she's wearing has sleeves that go all the way down to her wrists. Because you know what? My brain is capable of knowing what a coat looks like, and most coats go all the way down to the wrist. Unless it's relevant to explain what the character is wearing, as I said, to reveal personality, social status, what year it is, we really don't need to know too many details about the clothing. Personally, I find the best times to describe clothing when A, you introduce your character, and B, anytime they change their clothes. That includes slipping on a jacket or changing their clothes completely for an elegant ball. If you mention one time that your character changes into their work uniform to go to work, you don't need to mention it every time they go to work. We'll know. Readers can be rather intelligent, and they'll figure this stuff out on their own. I'm Lisa Corys, and I hope these tips have helped you today. If you like this video, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Please share this video with your friends if you'd like. I post new videos every Wednesday, and I will see you next week. Bye!